A Kenyan judge orders doctors' union officials to be jailed for refusing to call off a nationwide medical strike. The White House digs in its heels over its controversial travel ban as President Donald Trump weighs a new executive order on immigration. And how these sisters are fixing engines and breaking barriers in Morocco. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Now, fighting erupted in Central Africa on Monday. At least 11 people were killed in Democratic Republic of Congo in clashes between the army and a militia loyal to a traditional chief killed in fighting with police last year. Jean-René Chimanga, president of the Civil Society of Kasai Central Province, says Monday's violence occurred near Shimbolo, the town where the army killed more than 60 militia members in fighting on Friday. In recent months, similar clashes have killed hundreds and uprooted tens of thousands of people. Analysts say militia violence in Congo, a tinderbox of conflicts linked to land, ethnicity and mineral resources, has been exacerbated by President Joseph Kabila's failure to step down when his constitutional mandate expired in December. Well, in East Africa, a Kenyan judge on Monday ordered officials from the National Doctors Union to be jailed amid a strike against public hospitals that has been in effect since December. The court also declared the strike illegal in December. As news of the ruling emerged, riot police took up positions and doctors wearing white gowns and surgical caps blew whistles and chanted angrily in the street. In January, Justice Helen Wasilu sentenced the strike leaders to jail for ignoring her earlier ruling, but suspended the sentence to allow time for talks. The union, which has about 5,000 members, wants the government to implement a deal agreed on in 2013 to give doctors a 150 to 180% pay rise on basic salaries, a review of working conditions, job structures, and criteria for promotions, and to address understaffing in state hospitals. Now, for more on the Kenya's doctors' strike, VOA's East Africa correspondent Jill Craig joins us live via Skype from Nairobi, Kenya. Jill, there was a deal, as we've just mentioned, way back in 2013. What has prevented this deal from being implemented, as far as you know?
Yes, it's a bit of a complex situation, Vincent, with neither side very happy right now. And as you mentioned, in 2013, there was a collective bargaining agreement that was signed by both the doctors' union and the government, which did agree to higher salaries for doctors and better overall working conditions. However, the part that is becoming a bit nebulous is that what has happened is that the Senate Health Committee says that the permanent secretary who signed that CBA back in 2013 was actually demoted from his position 2 days before he signed it, thus rendering the document void. Now, the doctors say this is ridiculous, and they still signed this agreement in good faith. And as you mentioned, they are asking for a 150 to 180% salary increase. The government, on the other hand, has said that they'll go up to 40%, but that's it. So you can imagine that when we're dealing with numbers here, 40% to 150% minimum, it doesn't lend itself for a lot of agreement between the two parties. And so therefore, now we're in the situation that we are with 7 doctors' union officials being jailed.
So is the question here a lack of finances, or is it that the government no longer really wants to honor the deal as it was in 2013 when it was signed?
That's a great question, and depending on who you talk to, you'll get different answers. The government says they don't have the money. They say that they simply do not have the funds. However, cynics and other people who've been protesting say, well, you had the money to have millions of dollars stolen from the Ministry of Health, which was another huge corruption scandal that people were protesting months ago. So therefore, where's the money now? And then also, it's worth noting that, you know, the nurses have threatened to go on strike. We have the university lecturers that are on strike. And so I think the Kenyan government has said that they're worried that if everybody is going on strike and everybody wants more money, there's no way they can pay for this.
What has been the reaction, particularly from doctors and others who sympathize with them? Will this jail term stop them?
You know, it's interesting because a lot of people are upset at the, well, I should say some people are upset at the doctors. They think they should go back to work and start helping people that need life-saving treatment. However, a surprising number of people that I've seen on Twitter and talked to in person have actually sided with the doctors. And they say, you know what, the government needs to do what they said they would do and uphold their agreement with the doctors union in 2013. So actually the doctors have gotten a lot of support from, of course, both within their 5,000 strong doctors union, but also with a lot of the ordinary citizens of Kenya. They actually support the doctors in this.
And you know, this has been what? It's coming to two months or more. What has been the situation at the hospitals?
Oh, yes. Well, March 3rd will be the third month if we get to that point. But as a result, you know, the public hospitals right now, no doctors are working. So that means the nurses have sort of picked up the slack. They're the ones handling things. And the patients, though, if they have the money or if they can actually, you know, find some loans to get the money, they'll go to the private hospitals. But this puts them in more debt. This also means that the private hospitals are more crowded. So the public health care system right now in Kenya is quite grim.
And we hear that politicians, especially those who are in parliament that is coming to an end sometime this year, they're asking for more money. Is that one of the other issues that citizens are raising?
Yes, it most definitely is. And, you know, like I said, there's several groups that either are currently striking or are threatening to strike or have recently been striking. So with all of these groups striking, you know, I think that the union is saying that the starting salary for a doctor in Kenya is about the equivalent of $350 per month. So when you have someone striking because they want an increase of you know, what they're currently making is $350 per month, you know, they look at the MPs that are saying they want, you know, another increase, and they're already quite large salaries relative to both the Kenyan populace and then also other legislators across the continent and sometimes even the world. You can see how sometimes these protesters get very upset at what they say is hypocrisy.
Hey, Jill, thank you very, very much for your report.
Thanks, Vincent. Thank you.
That's VOA's Jill Craig reporting live from Nairobi via Skype. Now, the United States, Japan and South Korea have requested an emergency session of the UN Security Council on Monday afternoon in New York following North Korea's latest ballistic missile launch. North Korea's state-run KCNA news agency reported the launch took place early Sunday. South Korean military officials confirmed it traveled about 500 kilometers before landing in the Sea of Japan. The news agency celebrated the test of what it called a Korean-style new type strategic weapon system and boasted that it was overseen by leader Kim Jong-un. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman said Monday that China opposed the launch, which violated UN Security Council resolutions, but urged all sides to remain calm.
We believe that dialogue and consultations are the ultimate ways to solving problems of the Korean Peninsula. We all hope all sides can take responsibility to do what they should do. In this regard, China is willing to continue to work together with the US and other sides to push forward a solution to the peninsula's nuclear issue and make joint efforts to protect the peninsula's peace and stability.
Well, Russia's foreign ministry also expressed concern on Monday about the missile launch. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe called North Korea's actions absolutely intolerable. The White House remains defiant days after a federal appeals court kept in place a hold on President Donald Trump's travel ban from 7 majority Muslim nations. The White House says a fresh attempt to restrict those entering the United States could be launched this week. VOA's Michael Bowman reports.
Joyful reunions continue at U.S. airports as travelers covered by the president's executive order are given another reprieve by the judiciary, and refugees like this Syrian family are welcomed to a new home in America.
Thank God to the American people who made it possible for us to come here and bring that hope back alive again.
Well, as you know, we have multiple options, and we are considering all of them.
The White House insists it will prevail.
There is no constitutional right for a citizen in a foreign country who has no status in America to demand entry into our country. And the bottom line is the president's powers in this area represent the apex of executive authority. And we have multiple tools across multiple fronts to ensure that we are preventing terrorist infiltration of our country.
Federal law does grant the president broad authority to restrict the entry of foreign nationals to the United States. But constitutional guarantees of religious freedom and equal protection under the law come first, according to a state attorney general spearheading the ongoing legal challenge to Trump's travel ban.
Of course, there's broad discretion for the president, but nobody is above the law, and an executive order still must be consistent with our Constitution. And that's the problem that the president keeps running into with federal judges.
The White House could continue to defend the travel ban or attempt to write a new one tailored to withstand legal challenges.
But we also have a lot of other options, including just filing a brand new order on Monday.
The last 2 weeks have demonstrated Trump's determination to make good on a key campaign promise, as well as the judiciary's power to intervene. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
Well, on this just into Africa 54, President Donald Trump has just concluded a telephone call with Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari from London. And the call came at the request of the American president. According to a Nigerian State House press release, the conversation was cordial, and President Buhari congratulated Trump on his election as president of the United States. The two leaders discussed ways to improve cooperation in the fight against terrorism. President Trump encouraged President Buhari to keep up the good work he is doing, and also commended him for the efforts made in rescuing 24 of the Chibok girls and the strides being taken by the Nigerian military. President Trump also invited President Buhari to Washington at a mutually convenient date. Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We are also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. And also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Coming up, fruit wines in the works. We'll tell you why business is booming at this winery in Malawi. Stay with us.
This is BizBeat.
Velvet is the comeback trend of the season.
Allison Levine is the owner of Allison Levine Design, a celebrity fashion expert and stylist.
Velvet is everything, and it is in full force.
Levine says Velvet has moved into everyday casual wear for men and women and is showing up in furniture and home decor. This Sausalito silver couch made of velvet is selling for $2,700. Why the sudden interest? Olga Rakduni, Duroc owner and interior designer.
Because it is associated with luxury. It is associated with nobility and with wealth, and people just love it.
How about a pair of Gucci slippers for $850? In the past 2 years, Velvet sales have shot up 200% online, and last year, Rakduni's company sold 80% more velvet furniture and draperies than in the past 10 years. For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexio.
Welcome back. Now, North Africa has one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, and women face widespread challenges trying to enter the workplace. But in Morocco, one woman saw a chance to break down barriers in a man's world. Here's Africa 54's Haiti Adams Fitzpatrick to tell us more. Haiti.
Vincent, I met 22-year-old Najle Lachkar when she visited Washington recently. She is part of a youth training project funded by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. And we talked about a lot of things: manicures, dressing up, motorcycle engines and car grease. She says changing a tire in Morocco, that's easy, but changing minds about a woman's place in society, not so much.
It's like any other car garage in Morocco, except for the mechanics. Najla Lachkar has been fascinated with cars ever since she was a little girl, a passion she shares with her younger sister Rajai. Together, they wanted to help fix women's car troubles in Morocco. So they got under the hood themselves.
A woman can never go and take her car to a mechanic shop because it's always full of men. They get overcharged because they don't understand mechanics. There's still the idea that women are physically weak. Even changing a spare tire is an issue in Morocco. Calling a mechanic to come fix your tire is a waste of time. There is this belief that it's a man's job.
Lashkar lives with her parents and siblings in Tetuan, a quaint and conservative town where women do what's considered women's work. But Tetuan's beautiful hills belie the hardship many families face here. High unemployment and infrequent opportunities are forcing young people to leave for better prospects elsewhere. Lashkar says it's made some a soft target for extremist groups.
Many of the youth choose illegal immigration to Europe. Some have gone to Syria to join ISIS because of lack of opportunities. They meet people who radicalize them. They are promised a spouse and financial resources for their families. And those young people eventually end up leaving to join those terrorist organizations just to get that help.
Lashkar and her sister were looking for opportunities too when they heard about a skills training program for auto mechanics funded by USAID. They jumped at the chance. Lashkar says for many people in her hometown, the idea of women working on cars just didn't make sense.
People found it bizarre that two girls are trying to be mechanics. So we faced some resistance at the beginning, but with time, they got used to it, and that's what counts. You have to be aggressive and stick with it until people eventually accept it. The life skills I received through USAID helped us with our communication skills. It helped us deal with clients and better ourselves as managers. If we ask ourselves why men can choose jobs traditionally done by women, then why can't women choose jobs traditionally done by men? But perceptions are changing, and now I find people are more proud of my sister and me than anything else.
After the sisters complete their internship at a local garage, they hope to become Tetuan's first qualified female mechanics. Lashkar says she wants to inspire other women to shift their dreams into high gear.
Don't let people tell you that you can't do something. You can overcome the challenges and pushback from inside your family and your community. That should not break you. Be persistent, work hard, and lead by example. I want to start my own business, a one-of-a-kind garage that provides services to all women in Morocco. Then I want to expand it as a global franchise. That's my dream, and that is what I will accomplish in life.
And Vincent Najlai Lashkar says she wants to name her car repair shop Princess Auto, where she hopes to train women to become more independent car owners. She says although the repair shop would be designed for women, she won't turn away any male customers should they need a tire change or their cars repaired. Vincent?
I'd like those girls to change my car tires. Well, in Southern Africa, business is booming for a popular Malawian winery, which makes a product known as Linga fruit wine. Now, Linga is made from guava, plums, and even some local flowers. The winery's owner has been expanding into international markets while giving back to his community. Lamek Masino reports from Lilongwe.
It started as a hobby. Timothy Ngwira learned how to make wine from a retiring missionary in 1978. Ngwira, a biochemist, had a knack for the process.
I was using our pantry, the kitchen pantry, for the bottles. And of course, when the demand became bigger, the pantry became fuller, and therefore the kitchen has priority over my wine.
So he started his winery business in 2006. Here in Malawi's capital, Lilongwe. The wine is produced from 8 local fruits. The results are sweet. Ngwira says it is different from the usual grape wine, which can be drier in taste. The alcohol content is about the same, at 13.5%.
So this is our main maturation room, where wine stays for up to 5 years. We have the fruit wines, mulberry, plum. We have chidede, which is the hibiscus. We have the rosetta. So all these are here, and they mature here.
Business has been good. Linga is now sold in several wine shops and international chain stores in Malawi.
With the international market, we have had inquiries from states. We have had inquiries from Zimbabwe, and we have sent a consignment to UK.
Ngwira is a scientist at heart. He invites science students from the local university to take part in internships to learn about fermentation and food safety.
I'm making sure the product is safe for consumption so that whoever is drinking this wine enjoys it, knowing that it is free of any microbes and free of any contamination.
The business also provides income to local farmers who sell their fruits to the winery.
We previously were facing a lot of problems because we had no reliable market to sell the fruits. We were even going about begging for food.
As demand increases, Ngwira is running out of space. He says the winery may soon be ready to expand. Lamek Masina for VOA News, Lilongwe.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. What are your hopes for 2017? We'll share your social media comments on the other side of the break. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Kenya, a judge has jailed officials of a national doctors' union for a month because of an ongoing strike. In Uganda, UNHCR says that the South Sudanese refugee situation is Africa's largest as thousands stream into Uganda to escape ongoing attacks. In Egypt, country cracks down on sales of fake cotton, reviving the important industry after production hit a 100-year low in 2016. Finally, in South Africa, craft gin distilleries in Cape Town use flowers and herbs from surrounding mountains in a bid to make a dent in the drinking habits of the beer-loving nation. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Welcome back. A few weeks ago, we asked you to share your hopes, expectations, and aspirations for 2017. We have received a lot of great responses, and we want to share as many as possible with you. Now, so let's get started here. We start with Kitty Chepkoske from back. She says, in Kenya, the broken healthcare system should be looked into immediately. Kenyan healthcare professionals should stop theft of equipment and supplies. Next comes Vita Henry from Uganda, who believes that the international community and Trump should really look into South Sudan, where civilians are slaughtered like animals every day. Abbas Makori from Jeddah in Saudi Arabia writes, we wish to reach free trade and common market between countries of the continent. And finally, Thelma Lutangu insists that Africans should erase dictatorial leaderships in all countries and bring a new beginning to our land. I want to thank you very much for your responses, and please keep them coming. Go to Facebook. The address is Africa54, and tell me what your hopes are for 2017. Or send me a tweet at VOA Vince Makori. Now, coming back here to the U.S., Oklahoma brings to mind classic Hollywood Western movies in which most people depicted were white, except for occasional scenes with Native Americans. But the story of Oklahoma and other U.S. Western states is much more complex. At least 50 towns in Oklahoma were founded by African Americans, and the state once hoped to become all black. Oklahoma-born filmmaker Carrie Barber has made a series of documentaries about those towns and efforts to preserve them. Here's VOA's Zlatitsa Hoke.
The all-black town of Rentisville, Oklahoma, was founded in 1903 and almost crumbled away during the Depression when many families left and local businesses could no longer survive. But this small community has held together to this day.
I don't ever want to say I was born and raised somewhere, but that town doesn't exist anymore. That would be just the saddest thing ever for me to tell someone.
Some young people are now coming back. Spencer Nero bought land adjacent to his father's ranch after graduating from college.
My dad was, born and raised right here on this same place that I was, and his dad, same thing.
Rentisville is one of 13 surviving all-black towns in Oklahoma. After the Civil War and the abolition of slavery, many African Americans moved to new territories in the West where they could acquire land and form their own communities. At the end of the 19th century, Oklahoma had more all-black towns than any other state, and there was a movement to make it an all-black state.
But it was actually a Kansas politician that started this whole idea of trying to recruit African Americans to move to Oklahoma in hopes of creating possibly an all-black state where there would be no segregation and where African Americans could govern themselves.
Journalist and filmmaker Carrie Barber spearheaded a project named Struggle and Hope, a series of web videos and a feature-length documentary about the history of all-black towns in her native state. She spoke to us via Skype.
I had grown up in Oklahoma and I had never heard this story before and was very surprised, so I began researching it.
The documentary is focused on efforts to save the remaining all-black towns in Oklahoma, some of them with populations of no more than 25 people. Barber says her goal is to raise awareness about an important part of U.S. history that is not taught in schools.
There's so much that hasn't been told. There's so many stories that were left out. And really, when we tell these stories, it makes us a richer country and it makes us appreciate and understand each other better.
There's a lot of rich history there, and once it's gone, it's gone. So whenever that book is closed, you can't reopen it. And so I think for me is trying to keep that book, open to where others can see it.
The purpose of the Struggle and Hope project is to inspire others to create books and movies that explore all of the rich and diverse parts of U.S. history. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
Well, internationally known jazz and rhythm and blues artist Al Jarreau has passed away. The 7-time Grammy winner died on Sunday in a Los Angeles hospital at the age of 76. Jarreau is considered one of jazz's greatest vocalists. The multi-talented singer achieved a rarity, winning Grammys in 3 different categories: jazz, pop, and rhythm and blues. He released 16 studio albums, a host of live albums, and several compilations. Jarreau's hits included We're in This Love Together, After All, and Moonlighting, the theme for a popular mid-1980s American television show of the same name. He was hospitalized for exhaustion last week, and while he had been recovering slowly and steadily, according to a post last Friday on his Facebook page, he had been forced to cancel his remaining tour dates for 2017. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us in Washington, have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Sailing on a ship can be a fun way to travel. But are Jonathan and Anna talking about travel here?
That ship has sailed.
Hey, Jonathan, my friend Stella has changed her mind. She would love to go out with your friend Rocky.
That was months ago. That ship has sailed.
What do you mean? There's always a chance for love.
Not this time. Rocky got married last week.
Oh, you're right. That ship has sailed.
When a ship sails, it sets off on its trip. The expression, that ship has sailed, means your chance to do something has passed. Now, if you don't like boating or get seasick, you can also say, that train has left the station. They both mean the same thing. You are too late. And that's English in a minute.